Well, I was telling a story earlier today, and I thought I'd share it with y'all. Um, I'm full of them; they just have to come to me. Um, so my dad, he would work out on the road when I was younger. He would uh, leave the house early Monday morning, and Dad would do whatever it took to make a dollar. But he liked to make a pretty good dollar, so he had to hustle. Um, Dad would always have a station wagon, later on SUV. Um, and he would have the back end of them packed full of just everything that you can imagine. He was peddling and this, that, and the other. He sold insurance for a company in Atlanta called Coastal States Life Insurance, and the Coastal States building is still there. Noticed not too long ago that it used to dominate the Atlanta skyline, and now it's swallowed up by the mega skyscrapers that are down there. It's a nothing building. Oh, that's a cute little skyscraper you got there. Kind of like that. That reminds me of a story of two wealthy fellows. I heard this, now I don't know if it's true or not, but they kept trying to outdo each other. One to buy a bigger boat than the other. And they'd buy a bigger one, this one buy a taller one, this one buy a longer one, this one buy a more powerful one, this one would have a garage in it with jet skis, and it'd go on and on. This one have a swimming pool. Well, they kept at that a while, and one of them asked the other one, he said, "Come over here on my new boat." He said, "Let me show you something that you've never seen before." And the guy said, he walks over there and he looks around. "Well, yeah, nice boat you got here. What is it I've never seen before?" Old boy leans back in his chair and he says, "Top of your boat." Well, of course, that just made him go get another boat, I guess. Anyway, that's a kind of cute story. Look over my hair, just got out of the shower. What story was I going to tell? Oh, Dad out on the road all the time. Dad was gone all the time. He, in addition to selling that life insurance, he'd have toys. He'd go around and sell to the little 5 and dime stores. And then out in the more rural communities, he would take different varieties of, I call it pop. Some of you people call it soda pop or soda. But he'd take different varieties. Most people would have RC or Coke or Pepsi. Dad would take them knee-high or Sprite or Dr. Pepper or, I don't know, some other popular ones back at the time. 7-Up, everybody knows those, but there were some that have disappeared over the years. Back in Kentucky, we got one called L81, ALE, the number 8, and then 1. And it's made at Winchester, Kentucky. And people like it. Not my favorite. Won't say anything bad about the brand. Won't say anything about most horses' urine either. But anyway, so Dad would take that stuff out in the communities and he would sell the stuff. And make him a little money on it, go on to the next place. He'd always make $1. His goal every day he set for himself was $200, and that's a hell of a lot of money to be trying to make back in the late 60s. But Dad would come home, and something we didn't have back then in Prestonsburg, Kentucky, was we didn't have a lot of fast food places. I can remember the Dairy Queen, and then I remember Jerry's actually going in, and we had a Foley's Bakery, was a pizza carry-out place, and obviously a bakery. And we had, I don't know, Jenny Wiley, State Park, The Lodge. At the time, Mom and Dad had a little restaurant, Kentucky Kitchen, I think, something like that. Kim Hamilton's mom and dad worked there. Me and Marna's still got the dishes out of the place. That's the actual first dishes we had. But there wasn't much around. That Kentucky kitchen Dad built across from a shoe factory just to pretty much service the shoe factory crowd. And we had a couple of drugstores, Rose's and Fountain Corner, but we didn't have anything in the way of fast food. Dairy Queen went in. Ron Lawson put it in, and his family. And Ron, Ronnie, Ronna, Amy, Sheila, and their moms and dads, and gosh, yeah, well, suffice to say, that was a Lawson undertaking. And it stayed there for years. And, you know, I don't know, it's probably still something. I haven't been back to Prestonsburg in a couple of years now, so I really don't know. But anyway, the point is, we didn't have a lot of fast food stores. Now, I'd seen a little kid, we had our little rabbit-eared TVs, and we had the cable TVs that you had to walk the cable back up the hill every time it stormed to see what branch had knocked the cable down and put it back up. And we'd have to adjust the antenna all the time like that, walk up the mountain. I guess city kids had to climb up on roofs or something, I don't know. But we'd walk the cable. And anyway, one of the days that the cable actually was working, we only got 3 stations. We had 3, 8, and 13. 3 and 13 were in Huntington. Well, at the time, 3 and 13 3 was in Huntington, 13 was in Charleston, and 8 was in Charleston. 13 eventually moved to Huntington, and now today 3, 13 are in Huntington, and 8 is still in Charleston. I'm speaking of West Virginia. But anyway, that was the 3 channels we got. Sometimes, I guess, if they paid the light bill, we got PBS on Channel 5. And we didn't get much else. Sometimes we would pick up a station in Johnson City, Tennessee, and sometimes we would pick up the Hazard, Kentucky station, which we pick up. Hell, you pick up everything now, but in the early days, it was tough to tune Hazard in. And that reminds me of another story, but I'll do that in another time. Anyway, Dad would come in after he's gone 4 or 5 days, and he'd come back. He'd always hand me a grab bag. My grab bag, always the same thing. And it must have been out of them toys that he tried to sell. It's always the same thing. You get one of them little ping pong paddles that had a rubber band attached to it and a ball attached to the other end, so you could sit there like with the ball. Pretty good for hand-eye coordination, I guess. And then I would get a little blue pistol with a red end on it. It's made like an automatic, and you'd pull a slide back on it and had a spring in there, and you'd stick a dart in the end of it, and it had a rubber stopper on the end. And let me tell you something. Back before they had, standards of not injuring kids and shit, you could shoot one of them darts and hurt somebody. Hey, they packed a punch. And if you had to tear it apart and tinker with it like I did, you found out you could put 2 springs along that shaft and they'd really go. I got my ass busted more than once for burning an adult up with those stopper darts. But anyway, something else Dad would bring home. I'd see these commercials, and I'd just think it was the grandest damn thing ever was. McDonald's. Hell, they had the Hamburglar and the, Mayor McCheese and all this shit going on, and Ronald McDonald. I just thought McDonald Lamb was the greatest place ever, And so Dad would bring McDonald's home. Well, no big deal, except back in, I'm probably talking about 1968 or 9 here. Back in those days, 1970 even, we didn't have microwave ovens. And so Dad would bring McDonald's home, and he would hand it off to Mom. And of course, she couldn't stand the thought of eating something cold. And so she would take the French fries and she'd scatter them out. And she'd take the Big Mac, ever what it was. I remember when they didn't have a quarter pounder. But anyway, Mom would take that and she'd put it in a little pan and put it in the toaster oven. And she'd throw it in there, I don't know, about 10 minutes on incinerate. And get it out, and McDonald's be all warm and everything, you know. And the buns would be a little bit burnt and crunchy. They'd just be as crisp as they could be on the top, where it'd been under that, coil at the top of the oven, and it's so close to it being a little toaster oven. So it'd have little marks on top of the bun. It'd be crunchy. Well, that went on ever how long it did. And Dad got into business with some guys. I remember Bob Wilhite in Lexington, and I remember Sidney Newton Bremer. And he was a guy from down in, I think, Columbia, South Carolina. And they had a business there in Lexington that was a publishing company. It was called Successful Achievement. And there was a couple of more guys in on that. I think Dr. Joe Carter might have had something to do with it. Dr. Joe was from down Louisa, Kentucky. He was a dentist there. He and Dad were partners on many things through the years. They were very close friends, Dad and Dr. Joe were. Joe told me many a story about Dad. I was just sitting here remembering them real quick. But anyway, they had this office in Lexington, Successful Achievement, and it was on Versailles Road. And Joe Carter was the one that located them there, and I think the building might have actually belonged to Joe. I cannot remember exactly. I was too little to give a shit about that. But for some reason, I think that stuck, that building belonged to Joe. But anyways, on Versailles Road, and right down the road, they had a McDonald's. It was a real live in the flesh, right there it is, walk inside McDonald's. Well, I was just blown away, threw a damn fit, until Dad would take me to McDonald's. First time I'd ever walked into a McDonald's, in person. And I think it was in my little 4, 5, 6-year-old mind, I think I'd blown it up to quite a bit more than what it actually was in the physical experience. And so I go in there and I order my food and everything. I get there and I'm just happy. Oh, shit, I'm in McDonald's, and looking around and all kind of decoration and shit, but there ain't no Mary McCheese running around this sumbitch. There ain't no Ronald McDonald running around here. What the hell? Well, I sit down my food anyway and take a bite. What the hell's this? I take me another bite. I'll piss on that. Dad, what's the matter? Where's the crunchy buns at? I ain't like it without the crunchy buns. And so, I ain't need it. Still don't care much for it. I like the fries all right. That's my story about my crunchy buns. And kind of cute. Going back to Dr. Joe there a second, I'll say one thing. Right before Joe died, he told me, he said, me and your dad, we had this office there, and it's right next to the most popular beauty shop in all of Lexington, and we would... No, I ain't gonna tell that on my old buddy. I always remember him more than that. I thought, damn, that was class. That was a gentleman there. Good friend. It takes a good friend to cover your ass, 10, 15 years after you've gone. I appreciated the sentiment behind that. I miss a lot of these old guys. The last story I told was, had a lot to do with another buddy of Dad's that he was in business with in the coal business, Clifford Bevins. And, since I've done this last video, we've lost Cliff. Cliff passed away, and golly, man, you could write a book as thick as a dictionary, and fill it full of nothing but Clifford Bevan's stories. There's one I'll miss now. We wouldn't talk. I hadn't talked to him in a while, but we would, chat back and forth on whatever Messenger. And I enjoyed talking to Cliff all the time. So there's one. There's another one gone of the old crew, and gosh, a lot of those guys were just larger than life. Some of them were in that generation. All of them in their own way. And very few of them around now. But anyway, next time I come up with a story for y'all, I'll be telling it to you. Talk to you later, guys. Have a good one. Take care.